If you're in Suddie on the Essequibo Coast, you're likely to bump into Dudley Stephens. He's a tall man with a warm, welcoming personality, much like many other Essequibians. Stephens returned to Guyana just a few years ago after living abroad for nearly 3 decades.
We had rice fields. We had about 75 heads of cows, a couple hundred chickens, maybe about 500 ducks. We always had at least 3 gardens here, so we farmed a lot. I mean, my mother's parents and family are from the Palm River, which means that they grew up farm life, right? I enjoy spending time in places like that. I mean, my childhood memories is filled with that stuff, right? Being able to live off the land, being able to explore, catch a few birds, have your pets, your parrots, your dogs. I mean, my sister had a chicken as a pet once, Like, it's just, the country life is special.
So special is the Essequibo Coast to Stephens that he re-migrated and is eager to execute some big business plans.
I fell in love with this place, right? Guyana was a different place from what I expected, growing up as a kid. Population's grown, there's a lot more cars on the road, there's a lot more developments here. When I came here and 2 years later decided to stay in Guyana and do some developments, I wanted to build something that I miss. In the times that I spent in Essequibo, which Essequibo is my favorite region in Guyana. Maybe I'm biased because I'm born here, but I wanted something that I missed from New York. And I dine out a lot. Fine dining, that's my thing. Every week, a few times a week, I'm in a fine dining establishment. So I wanted the same thing here, which is the birth of Starlight.
Starlight, the first fine dining restaurant on the Essequibo Coast, is Stephens' big business venture on the coast. Starlight brings together some of what Stephens loved in New York with Essequibo's charm and flavor.
My childhood growing up in Guyana, right? The nature aspect of it, I love that. The lakes, I love that. But we also need this angle of it, right? Which is what I'm trying to establish. The fine dining, the accommodation. Most of the restaurants on the Essequibo Coast are local dishes, and we have some great restaurants here that prepare local dishes, but we've never had something like this, and we needed it, right? So we have things like steaks and the grilled salmon, other snapper, things like that, Alfredos, and we try to bring more of an international touch here, and lucky for me, I have an incredible chef working in that kitchen. Most people would buy their sauces. He creates his own and use the local flavoring that we have. So like, let's say for example, our barbecue sauce that we use here, right? He makes his own barbecue sauce and he adds tamarind to it. And it has an incredible touch to that thing, right? Using the local fruits that we have to make like the mango sorbets and things like that, it just gives it a different flavor. And Essequibo, we have a large amount of fruits to choose from, I would love to see things like jamun being incorporated into some of the things we do dessert-wise. And it's something that we're working on.
Though fresh on the scene, Starlight is already expanding. Stephens doesn't want it to just be a place where people go for good food.
The idea of building the hotel is when we're done, we'll serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner here. So if you're visiting Essequibo Coast for the first time, you have those things covered. Instead of looking and searching, what happened to me was I invited a friend back from New York to visit the coast, to look at a few different business, possibilities here. And when he got here, he called me the next morning. He said, "Hey, Dudley, where are we having breakfast?" And it hit me for the very first time. Essequibo was not prepared for that type of tourism, right? Because there was nothing available to him. And then to make matters worse, he couldn't handle some of the spices that we use. So he would pick all of the seasoning off of like the food, even the fried chicken, just to eat the bare meat. I mean, I felt sorry for him for a whole week. But when I look at it now, you can have your fine dining food, your continental breakfast, things like that available here and then you have lunch and dinner if needed, and room service. That's something that does not exist on the Essequibo Coast as yet. And I want to be one of the guys to bring it, and hopefully the other hotels and establishments start following suit, because tourism is about our entire region. It's not about one man or a couple of people. I want the entire Essequibo Coast to be flooded with people from all over, not just Guyana, but overseas. I want this to be an attraction, so I'm willing to push that forward.
Tourism is a sector targeted for rapid expansion as Guyana seeks to diversify its economy. The Essequibo Coast, which has traditionally been an agriculture stronghold, is embracing tourism more. Stephens wants to capitalize on this trust on the coast and elsewhere.
I would like to position this in Bartica on 2nd Avenue, the same Starlight Restaurant and Bar and the hotel. And after I'm finished with that, my hope is to build a resort in Kapui. Kapui has, and not the resort well, the things we call resort here, which is just a hangout spot on the beach. Hotel, activities, things like that that's needed. I would like to know that when people visit Guyana and they're visiting Essequibo, that they can take off from an amphibian plane at Oglala or up into Mary and land in Kapui Lake or Mainstay Lake. I talk about an amusement park. Essequibo needs one. My dad and I, we've been talking about this for a while. We've already identified the place in Suddie to build it right on the main road. It's something that I want to build, and hopefully, you know, we have the reception for that too, because Essequibo needs it. We need more activities for young adults, children and young adults. That's something that's missing here. And if we can't cater to the children, then that's a problem.
Business from tourism is attractive, but Stephens also wants locals, his fellow Essequibians, to enjoy themselves right at home.
The things that I'm looking at are things that I need. And if I need them, you need them too, right? So I'm looking at living in New York for so many years. I'm looking at all the things that we do there, where people just love it. And I'm saying, well, in Essequibo Coast, we can have the same, and people here will also love it, right? And so I'm passionate about it because I want to see Essequibo grow, right? As a region, I want to see this place grow. I think it's the best place in Guyana. Essequibo's ready for this, you know? So I'm happy about the way that people are receiving, you know, what we're offering.
From the coast to Wall Street and back, Stephens is eager to make his mark. Reporting for the newsroom, Vishani Raghaber.